We all know as a practice owner, one of the last things you want to think about is tax planning and strategizing for your practice. In addition, the long list of tasks on your radar, it's really hard to do everything. You have to find a trustworthy team of experts that understands the unique and specific needs within veterinary medicine. My suggestion would be my friends at Granite Peak Associates. Granite Peak is an advanced tax planning and veterinary practice advisory firm who has spent many years working within vet med. Their team works year-round to make sure you're able to maximize your profitability while also minimizing your liabilities. Whether you're in the process of purchasing a practice, looking to grow your practice, or transitioning towards the sale of your practice, they are the experts to help guide you through. What makes them different than other firms is their devotion to proactive tax planning. By thinking into the future and creating long-lasting relationships with their clients, Granite Peak can help minimize the amount of taxes paid over the course of many years to come. Head over to their website, granitepeakcpa.com, to receive a personalized comparison of your practice financials against over 140 other hospitals that they've worked with. You'll be able to see how your practice ranks, where you stack up, and where the opportunities are to get better. From there, you can schedule a one-on-one call with one of the members of their team to review and analyze your results. The opportunity speaks for itself. You need someone on your side. Granite Peak Associates is that team. Take advantage of their innovative expertise within the veterinary industry. Have you ever walked into a space and thought, wow, this place is beautiful? There's a reason for that. Architecture has this innate ability to impact emotions and perceptions. My friends at Apex Design Build bring beautiful and functional spaces for veterinarians nationwide. Apex is a fourth-generation family-run company that is fully integrated from the design, architecture, and construction process. They help you mitigate risk, eliminate surprises, save time, save money, and reduce your efforts. Sounds great. Check out their amazing work and have access to their square footage calculator to help you plan out your expansion or new build. Click the link in the show notes for the exclusive offer and learn more about Apex Design Build. Discover the nation's fastest growing practice management software. Who, you might ask? It's my friends at Shepherd Veterinary Software. Founded by a practicing veterinarian, Shepherd is easy to learn and works the way you work. Shepherd automatically updates the medical records, adds services to the invoice, generates discard instructions, and so much more. It's time to bring home more stories and less stress. Learn more today at www.shepherd.vet. Finding a job or finding a veterinarian shouldn't be a waste of time. Enter an Offer First. Paul Diaz and team have created something really special with Offer First. Some of my favorite reasons are as follows. Candidates and employers will both have values aligned on the first step, not the last. The sign-up process, quick and simple, no resume required. So if you're looking for a job but you aren't really sure, it's as easy as scrolling on Zillow for a home. And finally, if you have a great match, it's based on your each unique requirements, not random keywords. If you want to learn more, listen to episode 179 with Paul Diaz. We cover all of that. The other exclusive great thing that you're going to get from this ad read and from Paul is I convinced him to give an exclusive discount to listeners of this podcast. So for owners, you're getting a 20% discount on both the placement of any candidate, but also access to the platform. Use VSP if you go to Offer First, or the easiest way is a link in the show notes. So check it out. Associates, those looking for a job, same thing. Use the link in the show notes. Use VSP if you go directly to Offer First. But I will donate and Paul will donate to a veterinary nonprofit of your choosing. So each person that signs up gets a vote. Your votes actually count, which is incredible. And so I'll be reaching out. I will handle that. But there's going to be a donation made for any associate or any job seeker that adds on the platform. We want to make sure that not only does the platform help to make sure that you find a better fit, better culture, better role, but it's also doing good in veterinary medicine. Okay, so link in the show notes is going to take you to Offer First. It's going to automatically apply that, but also use code VSP if you go to Offer First directly. And Offer First is changing the game of veterinary recruiting. I want each and every one of you to benefit from it, so check them out today.
All right, so welcome back. This is a fun show. I'm excited about it. And part of it is we're obviously here in person. If you're watching on YouTube, I know we don't have as many watchers on YouTube, so hopefully the audio quality will be great just for those that we're in a vehicle. But I'm here with Dr. Jake Jensen, and Jake is a Purdue grad. He's the co-owner of Janssen Veterinary Clinic, and it's unique in the fact that it has, an equine side and a small animal side, and they do a ton of different stuff there. And Jake will fill us in a little bit on that. And Jake purchased part of the clinic in 2021. Married, 3 kids, local here in Indiana, which is, why he's here and be able to record at my house at the dining room table. And I'm so glad we finally be able to do this, and welcome, Michelle.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
So one of the things that I want to kind of get out there, you said this was your first podcast, which is fun. It's always a interesting and like fun experience for me to bring people on that maybe obviously don't have either notoriety or their stories have been shared within vet med. What do you think from your veterinary kind of career story would help kind of set the stage for where you're at today? Like, how did you get to where you are today? Kind of walk through that from Purdue to being, an owner of a business in central Indiana.
Sure. Yeah, definitely go through that. It's a bit of a different path than I expected, for sure. So I graduated from the Purdue University College of Veterinary Medicine in 2014. And when I was leaving school, my plan was to be an equine surgeon. That's kind of all I wanted to do. So I went to Idaho and did an internship out there for a year, and then I was applying for residencies, and the match didn't quite end up like I wanted to. And so I kind of had the option to, I can go and do another year internship or go look for a job. And so I decided at that point to go start applying for jobs. My wife is originally from this area, and so I ended up moving back to Indiana to Janssen Veterinary Clinic. I've been there ever since. So I kind of transitioned from trying to be an equine surgeon to spending more time with equine general practice and a lot of sports medicine, probably with, primarily sport horses, but a whole spectrum of horses. And then, at different times, the business has needed different things. And so I've also, spent some time in the small animal clinic as well to fill in when we need help over there. And so it's definitely not been what I expected leaving school, but it's been awesome. It's just been such a blessing to be there. And then, when I'd been there about 5 years, we had some conversations about ownership. At that time you were my financial advisor, and you were, really instrumental in helping me walk through that process. And so, after about 5 years in, I bought in some shares of the practice, and it's been a great journey. I was never necessarily planning to be a business owner, or that was not my focus coming out. But at this point, I wouldn't change it or go back. So I really appreciated how things have worked out for us here. So
cool. Love that. And I think a lot of veterinarians find themselves in like, oh, I'm an accidental owner, and it happened by happenstance, doctor got sick, this or that. But your business partner and a co-owner, he had brought it up, right, as like kind of wanting to chat on that. You said it wasn't necessarily like the aspiration or the dream. I think for a lot of folks, especially on the companion side, they want to own, they maybe have conversations, and they just don't like, how do you do that? What were the conversations like? Was it more or less, hey Jake, are you interested first and foremost? And then like, let's get a little bit more serious. How did they progress? How long did it take from kind of the first initial, are you interested to the purchase?
Yeah, no, we were extremely fortunate in that my business partner was mentoring me along every step of the way. So Scott and his wife Les, so they've been, just such a blessing to our family. And it started even, I think, just from the interview, asking, hey, would you have any interest in this? And I wasn't opposed to it. It was just, at that point, my whole life I thought was going towards, like I said, being a boarded surgeon. So I just had to really, I was still focused on clinical skills versus business skills at that point. So, so they opened that door, and then they really just kind of step by step through the years, kind of just, walked hand in hand with us with that, helped us, show us, hey, this is what it can look like, in terms of, not only the finances and things like that, but just, the benefits it can have for your family, for the community, for, the practice and everything. And so, it took me a little bit to just gain the confidence first in clinical skill sets, and then to take that jump. But I think about that, that 5-year mark it's a good spot, because you've got some time in the clinic under your belt. You're, feeling better about practicing medicine. And then, like I said, we were just, in a great situation where we had an owner that was, he was mentoring me along the way, helping me prepare for that and understanding what that can look like. And again, you were also, your help and and mentorship, and that was instrumental for us to eventually make that decision. So it was a slow process, at least for me. I'm pretty conservative. I don't, I'm not a big risk taker, and so I had to kind of get over some of that personally. But yeah, ultimately, it's again, it's been a wonderful experience and blessing for our family to be part owners of the clinic. So
cool. And then on the surgery side, you get to do a little bit of that in the companion side, not so much in the equine side, but is that?
Yeah, so that's that's kind of unexpected. I kind of shifted away from surgery into like more of the like I said, equine general practice and sports medicine, and I still enjoy that. But yeah, our surgery caseload is fairly limited to we're mostly doing castrations on horses, things like that. We refer the bigger surgeries away, but yeah, I've had the opportunity to get back in the small animal clinic and kind of scratch that itch by doing some surgery there, which I really enjoyed. So it's been good.
Yeah, one thing I've always appreciated, and I think I've shared a couple different times with people, whether on the podcast or in person, got to go to the barns and hang out with you and just see what it was like for a day. I was like, yeah, this is cool. Definitely hard work because you were doing float.
Yeah, I think you came. Yeah, we floated like 20 horses teeth that day or something.
Yeah, it's like so. Yeah, I can see this. Like this,
it's work. Yeah.
This is no joke. So I appreciate that, and it's definitely a different way to start a morning. But it was like, oh, it's nice. It's a little crisp, but it's like okay, it's great. Overarching thoughts on equine medicine. And so let's look at equine medicine as a whole from your perspective, right? I'm not asking you to speak for the industry itself, but share your perspective. And then also in Indiana, maybe that is a spot to start. Like, what's equine medicine look like in the state? And then what do you hear nationally as well? Or what do you think?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think it's, we definitely have challenges, the same ones that affect all veterinarians, but then some that are more unique to equine. And Indiana's no different. We have a decent horse population. We're not Kentucky or Texas, but we have a good amount of horses here and a variety of different disciplines. What we've seen, even just the 10 years that I've been here, is definitely we've seen a significant decrease in the number of equine practitioners. Particularly, older solo practitioners have retired or some passed away, and so we definitely have fewer and fewer veterinarians. And then finding veterinarians that will take on call is the biggest thing. There are veterinarians who have maybe left their general practices and have more boutique work, where they'll do they might do some teeth or lameness work, or they're just focusing on chiropractic or acupuncture. But finding those practitioners that will commit to having a clinic that's on call 24/7, 365 days a year is tough. We're blessed in that we're one of the bigger practices in the state, so we can share our on-call schedule between 4 or 5 doctors. So it makes it bearable to still have we can work hard but still have good work-life balance and not be on call all the time. But a lot of practices around that are smaller are struggling with that. So I've tried to form emergency cooperatives, things like that. But it's tough. I say particularly in the southern half of our state, severe shortage of equine veterinarians. In our area, there's still central. There's still some practices. Northern Indiana has some too, but I mean, unfortunately, it seems like every year there are fewer and fewer equine veterinarians, and especially less and less that will take on call and see emergencies after hours. So.
You feel like that's the story's the same when you look outside the state? Because I feel like I've heard that from a equine practitioner in Ohio. Yeah, for her, it was the on call all the time. Wasn't able to share quite as much. It was just got the part where she's like, this is what I do. It isn't palatable for life.
Yeah, for sure. My impression from people I talk to and what I read is that it's similar. You can be in certain areas that have a really, it's probably a little different, maybe in Lexington or Ocala or things like that. But generally, most places in the country, if you're not, right in a suburb with a decent horse population, if you're in a rural area, you're probably gonna have a hard time finding a vet to treat your horses. So, it's definitely a challenge. But I mean, our way of going around is trying to build a team where we can share the on-call, share the resources, support each other. And so far we've been able to do okay, but yeah, it's for sure a challenging time in the horse world. So
Yeah, for sure. And you were sharing before, you're looking, like most people, for veterinarians. It's tough. It's hard to find people who on the team. You're able to find someone on the equine side, but not on the companion health side or the companion animal side, which is interesting because they feel like it would be harder to hire on the equine side. But it's great to.
Yeah, I don't necessarily understand it, but yeah, at least at our practice, we've had in recent years, I've had more success hiring equine doctors than finding small animal practitioners. But yeah, I don't know. None of it how to explain that, but it's worked out okay.
Some things are unexplainable from that standpoint. Yeah. So one of the big things, and again, we were going to record this podcast, about either equine medicine, kind of business background, buying into a business. That's was always like an episode we were going to do.
Mm-hmm.
But then we met for coffee not too long ago, and you brought up a topic that I thought was super interesting, and really the genesis of what I wanted to bring on today. And I'm just I'll state it, and I'm going to let you kind of run with it, and I'll interject here and there.
Yep.
But basically, the idea was you made a comment about the concept of veterinarians calling folks pet parents, and that didn't sit well with you, and you didn't really care for it, and you felt like it wasn't the correct way to go about it from an industry. And I was like, I've not had that conversation on this podcast. I think it's good because it does impact everyone, right? Some people like here, they're like, yeah, I'm not an equine vet. That's cool, Jake. Sure. But I'm being health, and I'm here in Georgia. It doesn't do anything for me. Sure. But I do think this idea of pet parent, and I've used the term kind of since our conversation, try to use it less, just because of kind of see what you're saying. But can you kind of explain your kind of thought process or thesis around why you maybe don't like it?
Sure. Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, I mean, I have my personal beliefs, and I'll definitely kind of explain those to you. But I think what's concerning is I think, at least it seems to me, like you said, you've not had the conversation. Maybe I've missed it because I'm not on social media very much or anything like that. But from my perspective, I don't think anyone has had, at least that I've seen, has had this conversation. We seem to have just jumped on the bandwagon without thinking about what the consequences of our words and this terminology is. And so, this has become kind of I don't know if I call it a pet peeve or a passion of mine, but
soapbox topic.
Yeah, it is for sure. It's a soapbox topic, but absolutely. And so, I think the basis of it comes down to this concept. You can use the term, some people call it humanization of animals, or I think the really important term to understand is anthropomorphism. So that's a compound word with a Greek root. It basically means putting things in the shape or in the form of human in the Greek. And so it means you're attributing human traits, human emotions, human intentions to something that's not a human. And so that that can be something. It can be animals. It can be an inanimate object. It could be the weather. You could say those storm clouds are angry. That's anthropomorphism, right? The storm cloud doesn't have an emotion of anger, but it's a term we use. So it's not in and of itself, it's not necessarily bad. It helps us, we're humans. We see the world through human eyes. And so we project our human emotions onto things that are not human. But my perspective is that when it comes to animals, that there's definitely a danger to this. And I think it's not that I want to jump down people's throat. I don't correct other people when they use these terms. For me personally, I've chosen not to use them because I think when I think of the veterinary industry, we have kind of our three main shareholders are the owners, the pets, and then the veterinarians. And I think we can talk about it more, but I think using this terminology is bad for all three of those groups. And I don't do it just because it's annoying to me, but I do think there is real consequences to using this type of language. Ultimately, I want whatever's best for humans to flourish, especially veterinarians and pet owners, and I want whatever's best for animal welfare. And I think there's this misconception that using this type of terminology is good for animals, and I think the reality is actually it's bad. It's bad for pets, it's bad for owners, and it's bad for us as veterinarians as well. So
that's
the basis.
Yeah, no, it's a good kind of high level thought process. And after we talked, I think I've shared on here, I've talked with others, I go to a men's group, small group at a church in the mornings, and I'll hear, them talk about their kids not having children yet, but having animals and calling them like their fur babies or grandkids. And I was like, it's always kind of bugged me a little bit with like just the way that they've used it. But then after our conversation, and again, we're going to get more detailed when we get over coffee, but I was like, interesting. This is exactly what Jake was talking about. And it did strike me. It's like, this is weird. And maybe it's because, as like my wife's allergic, we don't have pets. But I've had pets before, and I've never, done that personally. Sure. But it is part of the lexicon, and I just picked it up. You went in that med, and like you have a conversation, you just start saying it, and you're talking about things like, just normalize it. And I think it's a little bit of a slippery slope. But continue on. What do you think some of the consequences are, or where do you think you go kind of next from that standpoint?
Yeah. So let me back up to me where I don't know where it started. I haven't been able to pinpoint it, but it seems like everyone, in our veterinary publications use it, all the marketing, companies that are distributors or pet food, they all use it. It seems like everyone.
Yeah. Ads on TV.
You watch an ad on TV, everybody's using it now. But we've all jumped on board with it, but like I said, not thought about maybe the consequences of calling people. We've changed owners to pet parents. We now have, like I said, dog moms, fur babies, grand dogs. We send our dogs to daycare, but we send our kids to early childhood development, right? So we've just changed our whole lexicon and all the terminology we use around this concept. I think part of it maybe came with, I know we talked about just the entry of private equity into the veterinary space with other conversations we've had, obviously. And I think part of it maybe has come from that. These investors are not stupid. They're looking at decreasing marriage rates, decreasing birth rates, decreasing, and then they're seeing, what do millennials like us or what do Gen Z and the next generations spend money on? We're seeing a decline in the number of children and a dramatic increase in the number of pets. And so obviously from that perspective, there's there's an opportunity there. For me, it's a little bit, it just feels a little, I don't know, I'm uncomfortable, or it feels disingenuous to think that, by calling these pets babies and calling these owners pet parents, maybe we can get them to spend more money in the veterinary industry. I don't know if that was the initial driving force, but I think there's at least some of that behind it, that, the more we view pets as children, maybe that will drive more spending in veterinary medicine. Again, I'm not comfortable with using that type of language to try to drive that. And so I try to avoid that again from that. But I think part of it has come from that. It's part of it is the money and the demographic change that we're seeing in this country. One thing you can look at, there's kind of an interesting book if people are interested. I don't necessarily agree with his interpretations, but his observations are very good. His name's Mark Cushing. I think he's an attorney by training and now works more in public policy, but he wrote a book called Pet Nation. Basically, I think in the first edition, it was called the subtitle was called like how pets went from the backyard to the bedroom to the boardroom or something like that. The new editions have a different subtitling on it, but basically he chronicles the change in pet ownership, the pet economy, spending mostly from 1998 to 2018. So it's at 20 years, and there's this massive explosion in the billions of dollars that people are spending on their pets and pet food, veterinary care, all of these things. And he kind of chronicles that change. And I think since COVID, it's even since 2018, I think it's grown massively. So it's probably even bigger than that. But yeah, that's changed. And so, so we're seeing that, and I think that drives part of it. But like I said, then I can stop if you got a comment there. We can, jump with what I think are potentially some of the consequences of this type of language. So
I think that there's this, and this might get us derailed a little bit.
Sure.
And I'm fine with saying, what's on my mind. I know you know that. I don't know most people listening, but I look at this, like there's this almost push to say, with climate changes, different things like having children is bad. that to me, it's not a hidden fact, right? There's a lot of narratives in, who are the folks or the companies, or the actors behind that. Won't necessarily delve into all the details. I won't necessarily even know anyways. I can speculate, I can assume. But to me, it's like, if you can replace children with a pet, you can then be in the club of being a parent. And so we're trying to replace the bond of, generations of families with now also this pet that's there for a season. And it's not the same. I don't care anyone that says it's not. And to me, it's insulting to parents that have raised kids because of the amount of effort that it takes and a lot of sacrifice. And I kind of wonder if it's just preying on this narrative that is false, that is bad. I believe that, God told us to populate the earth and to have dominion basically over the continents of the earth. And so to pull a pet and try to put it on the same playing field as a human, it to me is wrong, just personally, right? And part of this has come from our just initial conversation and thinking through it. I know you've done a lot more thinking in the space, but to me, I hear that, and everyone isn't going to believe the same things that I believe from a religious perspective for others. But I think just thinking human life and an animal's life, we're trying to say these are equal with that term. And I think hopefully most people would agree that's not something we should do, or that I think that is incorrect.
Absolutely. No, I agree with you 100%. And I appreciate you bringing that up, because that sometimes is the elephant in the room. Yeah. I mean, my view of the difference between people and animals comes from, whatever you want to call it, a Judeo-Christian worldview. And that's been, that's where I see the difference. I believe in this concept of human exceptionalism, that humans are unique among all the species on this earth. And but even if you don't believe what I believe, if you don't agree with that, today, hopefully speaking to other veterinarians, I think I'm not going to argue theologically today, but I think argue from this, what we can observe about the world, and from us as scientists and medical professionals, that this is, even if you don't believe what I believe, this is still a bad idea to go down this road. And so, I appreciate you bringing that up. And then, maybe it's the other can of worms we don't want to necessarily go to today, but we're dealing with this, we're now in a society where, people's feelings are now deemed to be more important than reality. So, even though we all know empirically that no woman has ever given birth to a dog, if someone feels that their dog is their child, we're now expected to get on board with that because that's their feelings. And so we're put in this awkward position as medical professionals where it's like, no, this is not the case. And, but, some of those clients are expecting us to act in this way, which can be very difficult. But, from what you brought up, we can talk about, for pet owners first. I think, again, this terminology is bad. It can deprive people of these, of some of the best relationships you can enjoy in life, it can be with, a significant other, a spouse, a human child. These can be some of the most amazing, most fulfilling relationships that a human can experience. And they're, we know as fathers, it's brutally hard, but it's worth it. It's amazing to be the father. And I don't want to be sensitive, because I know there are many people that would love to be a parent, and for various reasons have not been able to. And it's not in any way to say that that they're less of a person or something, or that their value is different because they don't have a child. But I would just say it's not, again, trying to pretend that this pet is a child is just not the same thing, and it's doing that doesn't help. So from owners, again, it can deprive them from that. It can, many probably of your listeners are veterinarians that have been in an exam room with someone who, an owner has a very unhealthy emotional dependency with their pet. And so it's, we see sometimes animals that are, very clearly probably need to be euthanized because of what they're going through, but the owner emotionally can't handle that because they put, so much of their dependence on this animal. And so then again, this animal is suffering because the owner can't handle the thought of letting that animal go. So again, that's a situation that's bad for the pet, and I think bad for the owner. Again, losing a pet is a tremendously difficult thing. I'm not trying to minimize that. I mean, it's it's terrible to say goodbye. C.S. Lewis said, if you want a life that's free from grief, he said you must give your heart to no one, not even to an animal. So, I mean, there's certainly an aspect of having animals in our lives we know is going to be hard at some point. But again, I think if we have the proper perspective, losing an animal should not be at the same level as losing a child. Lord willing, I hope you and I never have to experience something like that. I know people that have. It's it's devastating. But again, if the owner is in a spot where they truly believe this dog is their child or something like that, I mean, you can think about the additional emotional stress and thing that a euthanasia places on that owner. If you want to talk about pets, I mean, I think there's this false narrative that treating a dog as if it's a child is somehow better for the dog. We think we got this idea that that's somehow good for these animals, but really, again, it's a poor argument. Really, if you truly love your dog, do what's best for the dog. And so the best thing for the dog is not projecting your emotions onto the dog. The best thing you can do is to treat it like a dog, which is to say to treat it in accordance with its nature. So feeding it food that's appropriate for a dog, not what's appropriate for a human. Giving it exercise and enrichment that's appropriate for a dog, not what would be appropriate for a child. Giving it medical care, on and on down the list. But in reality, it's more people again are doing things to the dog that makes them feel good. It's not necessarily actually giving the dog what that dog truly needs to thrive, because that dog is not a person. It doesn't need the same things that we are. And so the thought should be, putting ourselves in the place, what does the dog truly need? Not, what do I as a person, what feelings am I projecting on a dog or doing that? Because ultimately that's not harmful. Again, I think many veterinarians have seen, I think, again, we've seen animal welfare improve, which is a wonderful thing. All of us want dogs and cats and horses to be treated better and to have better care. But when we start treating them again like they're people, we end up with all these, behavioral issues, anxiety, destructive and compulsive behaviors in these animals. We have, a loss of purpose. Most of our dog breeds, most of them over the last couple hundred years were developed to do something, to do a job. And now we maybe move them into a house where they're, now their job is to be a companion, but you're taking an animal that maybe was designed to work and not giving them anything to do. And now they're becoming destructive in your house. And so again, it's not good for the dog. And then we see more obesity, unfortunately, as our, in the Western world, we have, we've reached a level of affluence where we can, afford to provide a lot of these luxuries to our dog, which is nice. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but with that has also come our, some of these, a lot of these other diseases that we see, obesity, diabetes, all these things that go along with this kind of, sedentary lifestyle, maybe not feeding an appropriate diet for the dog. These all have consequences for the animal. So, again, just, I think just focusing on, again, if you really love the dog, again, do what's best for the dog, not what makes you feel good. And so I think that's another part of it. And then, from the veterinary perspective, I think, this has big consequences for us too. I mean, I think we lose credibility as medical professionals if we're going along with this, if we're just, we know the dog's not really the child, but we just play along with this charade.
Some will pay us and keep them back.
Yeah. I mean, I think we lose credibility. We're here to be medical professionals. We've taken this, this oath to, for protection of animal health and welfare and also for public health. And so, playing along with this, I think, undermines us. We should be having, conversations that can really benefit the person and the animal. And then I know people may or may not agree with this, but I firmly believe that this is also a contributing factor to what we're seeing with veterinary suicide. Maybe that, some people that may sound like a stretch. We talk about, burnout and debt and income and, access to medications for euthanasia and things like that. But if you think about it, when somebody brings a pet in for euthanasia, many of the veterinarians listening have probably had a wide array of experiences of how that appointment goes. You think about, you have one where the owner comes in and says, hey doc, dog's not doing well. I love my dog. This dog's had a great life, but I don't want to see him suffer. Go ahead and euthanize him. That's still difficult. No one loves those appointments. It's difficult. It's sad for everyone. It's hard to lose those pets, for the owner to go through that. But juxtapose that with the person who walks in and says, this is my child. I can't lose this child. Maybe that, this terminal illness drags on and on, the pet's suffering, and that again, you are at some point in this person's mind, you are then killing their child at the end of it. And you can think about, that may not seem like a big thing, but I think you're placing a very different emotional stress on that veterinarian with those two different kinds of appointments. I mean, not to be dramatic, but what would the suicide rate be among pediatricians if they dealt with economic euthanasia? I mean, that's unthinkable. But again, when there's a difference between, I'm a veterinarian, I took an oath to help alleviate animal suffering, and I'm going to keep my oath, by helping this client and humanely ending this animal's life so they're not suffering anymore, versus, again, I'm being asked to euthanize this person's child. And that's a whole different ballpark.
Yeah.
And I mean, whether, I think that has at least had some contribution to what we're seeing with veterinary suicide is, we don't know what animals are for anymore as a society. We've kind of lost touch with that. And the veterinarians I think we've been stuck at this awkward crossroad where there's this, our whole society has this discrepancy between how we feel and what our social attitudes are about animals. So on one hand, if you look at our legal system, far and away, pretty much in all jurisdictions, animals are generally considered as property. Now they have additional rights. Most places, obviously there's anti-cruelty laws, there's basic care laws. You have to provide them, shelter, clean water, an appropriate diet. A lot of places have maybe anti-tethering laws now, where you can't leave your dog chained out to a tree, which again is a good thing. But so on one hand, we have that legal basis that they are, they're considered by our law property with additional rights. But then now we have, emotionally, people are saying that they are family members. Pew Research had a study that came out last year. I think it was 62% of Americans own a pet. Of those, 97% of them say that the pet is part of their family, which I have no problem with. My dog's part of my family. Sure. That doesn't bother me. But then 51% of those said the pet is as much a part of their family as a human family member. That's where it gets weird. And then, so again, we have, so legal over here says they're property, but you can't be cruel to them. Emotionally, we're now saying they are a family member, or they're much as part of my family member as a human member. But then we have this whole big topic, and the reality is most people pay their veterinary bills and pay for pets with discretionary spending. So you've got this awkward crossroad between, again, our society doesn't know what to do, and we have these very different views of animals. And I feel like veterinarians are right in the middle of that. We're stuck in the crossfire of, this is what the law says, but this person's telling you it's their child, but they're telling you they can't afford, care because of this. And then, we have this, issue with economic euthanasia. And so I think all of that is part of this issue and part of contributing to suicide, I think. So
really interesting, because one of the things I think about there is and I'll call it enabling, and some people might not like that term, but by enabling it when it is expensive, and this person does say it is their child, it's easier to push them to say, this is worth it. You've told me this is important. Is it more important than these other things? You have the money. And again, I don't believe that there are people that are, consciously trying to do this out of, the necessity to earn a little bit more. They're doing it because, maybe they believe it as well. Like, if this is your, like, we'll do whatever. Like, I'm a great doctor. Yes, it's going to cost something, but we will do that, versus saying we need to understand there is a difference here. And I guess that's my question. Like, that you have all these different stakeholders, right? Veterinarians obviously play a huge role in that. So as a veterinarian, how do you all as a profession, right? Not necessarily me, but how do you all have those conversations when you hear it and try to correct language? I'll use a funny example, make everyone laugh, right? I got a call the other day. Hey, you're the crypto guy that I know. Can we get lunch? I want to talk to you about different things. And I was like, I'm really going to disappoint you because it's going to be real boring. You should buy Bitcoin and forget about it and save it and over time and just go be the best version of you can and create value for the world, right? But I try to correct that semantic language because they think it's the same thing. Crypto, Bitcoin, use interchangeably. I'm like, no. I want to make sure I'm very cognizant of the language used here so that you don't misinterpret when you hear stuff. When you hear, hey, I'm interested in crypto. I'm like, no. Let's come back to, like, let's understand that Bitcoin is different. And like, that's been cognizant that I've tried to, like, always reinstill that. And so I think of it from a veterinarian perspective of, you hear this language, what's something that can come back and try to reframe that conversation a little bit to help them see, I'm here, I care about you, I'm going to help. I'm here on your side. Again, this is what I'm here for, but I'm not going to necessarily agree with what you said because I don't think that's the right way to frame it. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, the hope I think with this conversation is maybe to start with the veterinarians and hopefully get some awareness from them, and they can think about that. They may, like I said, may agree with me, may totally disagree with me. That's fine. But I think, at least from my perspective, we've not even had the conversation of if we should use that language. I guess I've taken, try to be diplomatic about it. Again, I have clients that use this language. I have employees at my clinic that use this language. And again, I don't jump down their throats. I don't correct them. I don't tell them they can't say this. I guess my approach so far has been to lead by example and try. And so someone might say, so-and-so Fluffy's mom is in room 2 or something. And I'll just say, okay, again, I don't correct him, but I might say, okay, well, let me finish this and then I'll go in there and with Mrs. Smith. So when I walk in the exam room, I don't, use my high-pitched baby voice and go right to the pet. I start with the client. I go up to them, hey, Mrs. Smith, thank you for being here today. We appreciate you being part of our business. I talk to them first, and then after I, talk to them, then let's take a look at your pet. And so, again, I'm not sitting around, correcting clients in the exam room or something like that. I at least right now, that's not the approach I'm taking. But I'm just using the terms owner, pet, animal in all of my conversations. And then again, just trying to educate them, maybe it's with diet. You like, it makes you feel good to give this dog, whatever, table food, other food, things that probably the dog shouldn't be eating. So again, going back to the conversation of, what's best for this animal is for it to be on a diet appropriate to that. And, keeping it at a healthy weight, we know is one of the best things you can do for your pet. So, I don't know, maybe at some point there will be, maybe I'll get bolder and
I would say you're just nicer than me.
But,
I think that's the takeaway.
Yeah, I guess, so far
Being diplomatic to me makes sense.
Yeah, again, I'm not, again, it's not that I'm afraid. If people ask me, like this conversation, I'm happy to give them my perspective. I'm not afraid to tell them.
Yeah, I didn't pull this conversation on you.
No,
Hey, this has been so much
sure. Yeah, and friends that know me and stuff like that, they know how I feel about it, and I'll mess with them a little bit. I'll correct, people like that. But again, I'm not trying to be obnoxious to employees or to clients, but trying to just, again, lead by example that I'm using the terminology, I think, in hopefully what's a professional way and a way that's ethical and is medically appropriate, and again is out of concern both for the owner and the pet, wanting what's best for both of them. And again, out of my my sincerely held beliefs that it's not good to confuse people and animals, pets and children, and again, it has a lot of consequences that I think we want to avoid. So
yeah, I love that. I think that is probably the easiest way. And then you can go back to, how do you train new members of the team? How do we talk about these things and just make it part of the culture of how the expectations are set. I think that's how you can soften that.
Yep.
So maybe it helps a little bit, and it's not going to, a lot of people don't want to do it. Yeah, I didn't really realize I did it too much, honestly.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't. Like I said, it's become the standard in the industry. They've just gone along with it. And so, no, because, Jake, like, why do you care about this? Like, it's not a big deal. Like, we know it's not really their pet. We just, we're just playing along with it, and it makes it, it's fine. It's not a big deal. But again, I think, you just, I'm not sure who said it first. Maybe, Chuck Colson is credited with. He always said, ideas have consequences and bad ideas have victims. And so I think, again, whenever somebody presents an idea like this, you can't necessarily think about where we are today, but you have to go down the rabbit hole a little bit and see, if we continue down this road, where does this end up? And even, for veterinarians, with the issues we're having with just finding veterinarians to work and things like this. And then, there's some, you can laugh about some of the terms, but we've seen people, now people talking about, they'll call it paternity insurance or things like that. Like, some companies are saying, okay, now if someone goes and adopts a pet, they should get PTO for the next 5 days so they can be home with that pet or something like that. You think about, okay, what's the strain? The veterinary industry, where everybody owns a pet and we're already so short-staffed, having a hard time finding people. When we know maybe the birth rate in this country is going down, where are we going to find these people to work in our vet clinics if we're replacing children with pets? And then again, if we're going to give the same, are we going to pay our employees to help send their pets to doggy daycare? And are we going to give them PTO when their pet is sick? And, there's all these, if you go far enough down that road, these can have real consequences for small business or even for the bigger corporations. And you just have to think about that. How far are we willing to go down these roads before we realize, hey, this probably it's not a good idea. We should have drawn the line at some point and said, we love our animals, but let's not confuse these two. The other thing I missed earlier, but just, it's this, I hate this idea that we have to make a pet a child for it to be valuable or something. One of the, that's why many of us became veterinarians, is we love animals. It's amazing. Dog is amazing because it's a dog. Of all the things dogs can do, or a horse or a cat, we don't have to pretend like it's a child to give it value. We can appreciate, these animals are a wonderful part of creation. They're amazing if you think about all the things that we can do. Dogs in particular, the way that they work alongside people, all the benefits that people get from owning pets. Dogs probably have most of the research on that, but these animals are amazing in and of themselves. They can enhance our lives, give us so much joy. It detracts from them, and to say that, it's if it's just a dog, it's not worth anything. But if I pretend it's a child and somehow that adds value to the dog, that just doesn't make sense. And I think it's a disservice to the animal. So
yeah, I completely agree. It's really interesting, and I made a note, and it's going back a little bit the conversation, and we don't necessarily need to rehash it. But I thought the diet piece that he talks about with animals, you could say the exact same thing about humans right now. And I think there's some corollaries. There was a conversation I had on nutrition with a veterinarian. I can't remember the episode now. I'll put it in the show notes. That was really interesting. We got some feedback of people didn't really like what he had to say. But again, anytime you have a opinion that is, and I ask this a lot of times, what are non-consensus opinions that you have? This is your non-consensus opinion, which I love, because I think those are the things that need to be talked about. And I think slippery slopes, just culturally, we've both seen it. We don't need to derail the conversation, go somewhere completely different. It can be very dangerous. And thinking about the ramifications in a decade is important. And so I think getting in front of it and trying to say hey, listen up. I don't know. I don't know if anyone will listen or if anything changes, but I think the conversation, like you said, I don't know even what's having it. And that's when you brought up, it's I've not seen any content on this. Yeah. So we should definitely record something, have you share your views. So what haven't I asked about that you've looked at, you've thought about on this topic that maybe would be good to share? I know you shared a bunch, so
Yeah.
maybe we kind of got through most of it.
Yeah, I think no, that's most of it. I think I'll dive in a little bit of one of my other things is just I think a lot of it just goes back to, unfortunately for veterinarians, sometimes we don't see the animal maybe till that first puppy visit or somebody's already gotten the horse. Unfortunately, we get stuck with you know, maybe in our professional opinion, this pet wasn't really the right fit for that family. So again, how can we get upstream from that and help people, again, choose dogs is maybe the easiest example. How can you choose a dog that is appropriate for their lifestyle? Again, that they have the capacity to give the care that dog needs, feed the appropriate diet, and give it the appropriate amount of exercise that it needs. And just recognizing that we've just a change in our animals. Like if you think about, so if you lived, so you lived in Europe in the middle of the 1800s, there's only a couple of reasons to have a dog at that time. Either you were hunting with it, it was herding or guarding livestock, it was living in a granary or distillery catching rats, or it was guarding some portion of your property. There were some aristocrats that had pet dogs, lap dogs, again, but for the general population, you had working dogs. But then again, you think about today, how many huskies pull a sled, how many pointers actually point birds, how many labs retrieve ducks, how many Great Pyrenees are actually guarding sheep. So again, it's not to say that you can't, if you don't have a flock of sheep, you shouldn't own a border collie or something. But again, you have to helping educate our clients that, okay, if you are, like I said, you tell me you really love this animal. So if you really love this animal, what are you going to do to give it an outlet for that behavior? Because to just pretend that these breeds weren't developed to do a job over the last 200 years, again, is foolish. And so that would be my other thought about there is just, don't forget that all these animals were bred for a purpose. I'm not saying it's not wrong to have a dog as a companion today and not use it for the purpose. But again, if you're going to take that dog on, there's a responsibility there to, again, tell me you love this dog like a child, you're going to give that dog what it needs. And so again, part of that goes back to, are you going to give the appropriate exercise and a job for this dog to do so that it does have a good life? It's not becoming, again, destructive, anxious, a menace to you and society and the veterinary clinic. And so I think just in some ways the horse world has gone through that too. Obviously, I mean, we went from, if you look at how the horse population in this country has declined, or even the veterinary world right now, it's not that long, just over 100 years ago, the main veterinary schools in this country were all focused on equine practice because it was all about horses for work and transportation. And so most of the work was revolved around, dental and farrier care for horses. And again, we had, with the world wars and mechanization, the automobile, the tractor, things like that. Horses for a lot of their previous use became obsolete. There was this massive switch to, more riding for pleasure or show. And so again, many horses are still used for a purpose in which they were intended, but many dogs have lost that purpose. And so again, just I think it's something to be cognizant of and to, again, we're going to say, I truly love this animal. That's fine, but it's truly loving the animal, feeding it till it's morbidly obese and letting it sleep in your bed because that makes you feel good, or it's truly loving this animal, again, giving it what that animal truly needs from, again, not from a human's perspective and not anthropomorphizing the animal, but what does a canid or an equid really need, to thrive? So
I love that. Any thoughts on how people can reach out and connect if they want to chat more on this? I usually ask,
Sure.
I guess, I should give you because I know you've listened to the show before. I always give guests the ability to ask the question, but I want to give you that option as well. If you have a question you want to ask me, I know we chat a lot of different things, but I don't want it to take away from the previous conversation if you feel like it does.
No, I mean, I don't know that, you and I know each other, fairly well, not going to have so I guess I would just, when I get fired up on this topic and I feel like nobody else is talking about it, I look around and I'm like, am I the crazy one here, or is there any merit here? So I guess that's my question to you as someone who's not a veterinarian, but observes this industry. You're again, you've said, you're not currently a pet owner, but I don't know, but give me.
I don't think it's,
your thought on
I
it.
don't think it's crazy. I think it makes sense. I believe that most people, it's like the story of the old fish that swims by the other two young fish and goes, "Hey boys, how's the water?" And the two young fish look at each other and say, "What's water?" Like they just don't know. And I think it's gotten to the point where it's common knowledge that people just talk this way. And so they don't think about what the impact of their words are. And so I think the first thing is distinguishing that, hey, there is differences here. I do think some of the burden falls on, pet owners first and foremost, right? They need to deal with that and make sure that they aren't conflating children into animals. Like part of it is veterinarians need to not enable it and play up to that, even if it is at the benefit of more pets than growing up things, right? And I don't necessarily think that that's what's happening. I think there are people that do that. I believe that there's probably been a play to normalize that because there's lots of things that happen that we don't feel it changing, but the shift happens and also it's normal. And you're like, how do we get here?
Yeah.
And that's happened in a lot of parts of culture in general. And so, no, I don't think it's one of those things that's like way out of bounds. If it was, I'd still have a podcast. Because I think, the conversations need to be had, and I don't want to, be a spot where people, if they have a strong opinion, that I'm going to say, oh, no, I don't agree with you, so you can't share it. But it is, veterinarians need to sit down and say, do I agree with that? Or am I okay with what this could turn into? And if you're okay with it and you think that that's fine, cool. I think most that I talk to, which is not tons and tons of tons, right? The industry is very big.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it is like tight knit. I think it's just, hey, as leaders and as people that want to be here for a long time, is this the world we want to create? Because at the end of the day, the veterinarian will be the one that will either allow it or will say, you know what? Nicely, the Jake version of, we'll just or I say like, no. But I think you can do it in a kind way that's not going to tick people off. It's not going to have them not go. And if you do want to be a little bit more direct on it, you just have to understand that you have a good relationship with that other human, and you are trying to say, this is why. And I think you laid a really great framework of this is why. We want what's best for the animal, we want what's best for you, and I want what's best for me and my team, right? And so ultimately, we align those things. That's the ideal vision. And I think, framing it this way is wrong. This is why. But again, 20-minute, 30-minute appointments, are you really going to get into these kind of big, long discussions? No, but I think as a veterinarian, you could help educate by producing content similar to the way, like, if you have this breed of dog, like, maybe this is right for you, the Jensens, you should get this dog. The Douglas is not the right fit for how you live life. And so you need to be careful to not get yourself in a point where you have an animal that's not the right fit. So I think veterinarians should talk about it and say, where do I fit? And what do I agree with? And what do I want to either say yes to or push back a little bit because this is my career and I don't want it to go that direction. And then create content to explain to, I think it'd be a great email, great Instagram, reel that you could do for weeks or whatever, and just try to explain it in a kind, nice, sweet manner that would help people be like, never thought of it that way. Maybe I shouldn't call, Fluffy my child.
Yeah.
Those are my thoughts.
No, that's great. Yeah. I wonder too, I hope we don't go this route, but again, if you go far enough with this thought, eventually do we have this, could we have this schism in veterinary medicine where you have clinics that you take fur babies to, and you have other clinics that you take pets to?
Niches. Yeah. And it could be that way.
It may be that way. I hope not. Again, I think that would be bad for the industry overall, but maybe if the ship has already sailed for some, people and practices, that may be the way we go eventually. But I hope, like I said, I hope this will maybe get some feelers. Again, just at least stir up a conversation and people at least think, take the time to think through, okay, what language am I going to use and why? And then, totally fine, maybe different than what I come up with, but just make sure you're thinking through, except the consequences of using that type of language. So.
Yeah, I love it. I know you mentioned you're not on social media a lot, but you are on LinkedIn.
Yep.
So where else? I was going to say, where else if someone wanted to have a conversation with you or connect? I'll tag you on social media, and we'll see what people have to say. And I would tell people, if you listen to this, you think Jake's wrong, that's fine. I mean, I think open to it, right?
Oh yeah, people on LinkedIn. I'm crazy. Yeah, even from within our community, I've been shocked by some of it. Yeah, no, yeah, you're not going to find me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, anywhere else. But yeah, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, or if you want to send me an email, it's just jake@jvc.vet.
Got it. I'll put it in the show notes as well. But I appreciate it. I think it takes, again, I don't know if I want to say courage, but I think it takes a boldness to, courage or boldness to basically say like, hey, I have a non-consensus view. I think some of my peers are looking at this or perhaps maybe the wrong way. I want to highlight it. And let's have a conversation. If everyone thinks that I'm wrong, cool, but at least have the conversation, because we haven't had the conversation yet.
For sure.
So kudos to you for that. Appreciate it. And I think if you're a younger veterinarian that also wants to talk like buy-in and think about that, you've had a ton of experience, and I know that you would love to help out if anyone has conversations there. But thank you so much. This was a ton of fun.
Yeah.
I learned a lot. You're very well prepared and I thought through it. So I felt like it was really good to record. So
no, it's been a blast. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, awesome.
All right, so there are a lot of great job postings that I want to get to. And so we're going to start off with Bayside Hospital for Animals. Great work-life balance in beautiful Fort Walton Beach, Florida. No weekends, Monday to Friday, 8 to 5, no on-call or emergencies. It's an appointment only here. Currently a 2.5 doctor practice, new owner in 2021, bringing some fresh life into the hospital. The new owner had been there for 6 years prior working, so definitely understands the team, the processes, and the community. Lots of investment in people and new equipment. ProSal is the pay structure. Far too many benefits for me to list. Email BaysideVet251 at Yahoo or call 850-864-1857. Join a thriving, growing small animal practice in Vermont on the Quebec border. Full-time ideal, part-time is considered. The idea is to start with yes with the team, patients and clients, and outdoorsmen or outdoor woman's paradise while being able to practice high-quality medicine. Compensation is write your own structure within production capabilities. Literally, it is the owner wants to find the right person and is happy to negotiate, chat through, and find the right fit. If you want autonomy and a boss that enjoys teaching, reach out to Newport Veterinary Hospital. You can email newportveterinaryhospital@gmail.com. North Central Indiana, looking for an oasis in the chaos. Who isn't, right? Come join the amazing team at Fulton County Veterinary Clinic. They strive to foster a fun, fast-paced work environment while providing quality patient care. They utilize the support staff efficiently so that the doctor is available to practice medicine and do what you're trained to do in less time and paperwork, which is great. Lots of investment in new equipment and technology to support you, full-time or part-time available. Small animal and exotics are both seen there, so no ER. No on-call, no weekends, competitive salary with sign-on bonus offered, and far too many benefits to list. Go to Fulton County Veterinary Clinic. So type that in and you'll find the job posting there. Last but not least, join Watertown Animal Hospital. personable small animal veterinarian wanted for well-established current 5-doctor mixed animal practice in northern New York, which is an outdoors person's paradise. Again, 2 of those. So if you like the outdoors, you can look at Vermont or New York. They have plenty of support staff with 6 CSRs, 6 licensed technicians, 4 animal caretakers, 2 technical assistants, a hospital assistant, a practice manager, and a bookkeeper. Focuses on mentorship and investment on the people and the technology. That's been a strategic initiative by the leadership team. No on-call, 24-hour ER less than an hour away. Salary based on experience, but no less than $95,000. Can be straight salary, pro-sal considered. Want to discuss that with the right person. Tons of benefits. Again, too much to list. Please reach out to watertownpetcare.com for that option as well. So again, if you find a role or a job or talk to anyone and it helps you in any way, I would love to hear that feedback. So please reach out. Let me know what you're able to do. And I will continue to post these. So if you are an owner, reach out to me, let me know. And we'll go from there. And until I hit a capacity of I can't keep recording these, I want to let people know who are high quality owners around the country looking for great help. So with that, we'll talk soon.
Thanks for listening to today's show. The comments made on today's show should not be taken as investment, tax, or legal advice. All comments are for educational purposes only. You should talk to your professional team before implementing anything. If you want or need financial advice, my day job on Not Podcasting is helping veterinarians grow their net worth. Our team is taking new clients, and we are ready to talk to you at any stage of life. Come as you are. I always say, bring the mess, right? Like if things are unorganized, that's okay. There's no prerequisites to become a client. Isaiah Douglas is a partner at Vincier Wealth Management. Isaiah is a registered investment advisor, registered with the SEC. The biggest compliment you can give me in the podcast is to share it with a friend. Reviews help the show get found, and Apple Podcast is the platform that is predominantly used for people listening to the show. If you have 3 minutes, love the show, head over to Apple Podcasts, give us an honest rating and review. It helps more people find the show. Also, the new YouTube channel is up, and I'd love to have you subscribe. Vainly, I want 100 subscribers at least. Lots more, obviously, right? But I get a vanity URL if we get to 100. That would be great. It makes it easier to find the YouTube channel as well. For all of today's links, information, head over to the veterinariansuccesspodcast.com. There you can subscribe to your favorite podcasting platform. It'll be a link to that YouTube channel I just talked about. You won't miss any other episodes, whether you listen on Spotify, whether you have some other ancillary podcast platform. Please like, subscribe, all that stuff. It certainly does help. I appreciate it. Finally, if you want more information, insights, want your voice to be heard, want to share ideas for content, say, hey, Isaiah, I want you to have this guest. I want you to talk about this topic. Go over to the Facebook group. So you can search for the Veterinarian Success Podcast on Facebook or head over to veterinariansuccesspodcast.com, scroll to the bottom about your host, click on the Facebook icon, and that'll get you in the group. But thank you so much for listening. It means a lot to me to be able to see the podcast grow and continue to impact people. So with that, until next time, we'll chat soon.